This video we compare and analyze the ideas of singing technique from Professor Shen Xiang with the views of Alexander technique, according to two main treatises, The Art of Teaching Vocal Music and the Alexander technique for musicians. During the process, I also comprehended their views by relating to my own learning experience, so I will add my own opinions and experience to the video. Now I'm going to introduce the authors of these two books. Professor Shen Xiang is the author of The Art of Teaching Vocal Music. He was born in 1921. He held many solo concerts and master classes around the world. And from the 50s until his death in 1993, he devoted his energy on vocal education. He has trained a lot of famous singers in China. And my favorite soprano, Billy Bayer, is his student. Her voice was as smooth as silk, and this was because her singing was in a stable state and she could control her body well. Now I am going to introduce Alexander technique. F.M. Alexander was an actor, and he made fundamental discoveries that were the solution to his vocal problems. He realized the discoveries were useful in many situations, and the ideas developed into his principle. These principles are what we now know as the Alexander technique. In the early 1950s, Dr. Wilfred Barlow was invited to run an experiment in the singing department at Royal College of Music. Then made a strong connection between Alexander technique and the world of music. Professor Judith Kleiman and Professor Peter Bobcock are the authors of Alexander technique for musicians, and they are now teaching in Royal College of Music. Now let's go to the first point. Relationship between the head and the rest of body. Alexander technique concluded the relationship between the head and the rest of the body as primary control. And why primary control is so important for us? Here is the reasons. You may not know our head is too heavy. It's about 5 kilograms. And if it is not in balance, we will experience tension. In Professor Shen Xiang's view, there are various postures of singing in opera. It's possible to stand, sit, or lie down, and it should not affect the singing state. Singing is mainly about internal movement. Various singing methods require different postures, but the relationship between the vocal organs and various parts of the body should be relaxed and active. For my experience, when I had lesson or practicing, it is easy for me to overfocus on the music with no awareness. As a result, my neck is stilled, my head goes down, and my back be locked and tense. It is definitely influenced my primary control. Breath is the engine of singing, and primary control influences breath a lot. So we talk about the relationship between breath and primary control and see how they work on each other. In Professor Shen Xiang's opinion, when we inhale, we have to keep the path of inhalation open and deep. If the path of inhalation is tight, we can't inhale, or we can't inhale deeply. If you don't have control of your head as well as your body, it can lead to a poor pipeline for breathing. On the other hand, Alexander technique emphasizes that tension in any part of the body can affect your breathing, especially our tongue, throat, back, ribs, pelvis, and leg and our knees. Some may ask, what to do with the leg and knees? When we sing, we can't lock our knees. The legs have to stay somewhat bent and feel like they are moving, free and flexible. Let's go to the third part, the relationship of singing and breath. In Professor Shen Xiang's opinion, we should use our two sets of breathing muscles. One set related to inhalation and the other set related to exhalation. So, what to do? When singing and inhaling, use your mouth and nose to inhale together and inhale deeper. Some people use smelling flowers and yawning to compare the inhalation when singing. The mouth should be relaxed. The other group is the muscle group responsible for exhalation. In life, sighing, coughing, and sneezing are all the work of exhalation muscle group. The inhalation muscle group cooperates with the exhalation muscle group to maintain the inhaled air, and the inhalation muscle group continues to work so that the exhalation and inhalation cooperate to form a confrontation, forming pressure around the waist. It is interesting to note that Shen Xiang also gives us some ideas on singing breathing. First, the key to holding the breath is to keep the vowel unified. Second, singing is like a string of beads. The breath is the thread, and the words are the beads. Third, the emotion of singing is really important, and the breath should be appropriate to the emotion. In Alexander Technique's opinion, breathing plays a role of engine in singing. So let's see how every part of our body work during breathing and singing. When you are singing, you can imagine that the movement of your ribs is like the movement of the bucket's handles. And the back muscles have to do their supporting job well to free up the breathing. The pelvic floor is more like a trampoline when we are singing. People may ask, how much breath is enough to sing? Let's take a look at the advice given by Shen Xiang and Alexander Technique for this question. Shen Xiang, the breathing of singing should be changed with the length, according to the joys and sorrows of emotion. As for the pressure of confrontation, it should be decided according to the pitch, intensity, speed, vowel, the change of the melody, and the characteristics of the sentence. In response to the question of not having enough breath and not knowing how much breath is appropriate, Alexander Technique gives 3 key words. They are less anxious, confident, and efficiency. Now let's look at the videos and to know the use of breath in different scenes and different songs. Look at her mouth. There is very little movement, and as we will get to later, Shen Xiang's advised that little movement in the mouth helps to lengthen the breath. She sang this difficult aria near the end of the song, and she had a lot of big physical movement, but it didn't affect her breathing and vocalization. There are some obstacles that we encounter when we sing. What are these obstacles? What are the ways to get rid of these obstacles? Professor Shen Xiang says, the biggest resistance is the tension of the chin, neck, chest. Anytime singing must be vigilant. Don't let this muscle hinder your singing. Use what you should. Don't use what you shouldn't. We must get rid of the muscle tension to find our own released, completely natural singing. Alexander technique gives us a lot of solutions. First one is release your jaw. The second one is eyes. Your eyes must be like a twinkle. Someone would say, what do eyes have to do with singing? In fact, over-tightened eyes restrict the vocal mechanism. Let's see the video and focus on the singer's eyes. Now we will talk about resonance. In the book, The Art of Teaching Vocal Music, it says the using of good resonance can help you with the least power to sing the maximum effort so that you can make your voice spread far away and singing life lasting. When singing, all the resonance chamber work and opening the chamber occurs simultaneously with deep breathing. What's more, Professor Shen Xiang emphasized getting rid of unnecessary tension again. He also gave us another tips. When singing, the movement of the mouth should be small. The small movement of the mouth will open the pharyngeal cavity behind it, and the resonance will be rich. At the same time, through the focus point, move back and down. Inhale and sing, and the breath is deep. Don't feel like raising your voice. Rely on the support of breath, and the resonance will be natural, vibrate. Let's see the advices from Alexander technique. When we develop our Alexander understanding, our whole body becomes a more resonant musical instrument. The body general needs to expand, but we can specifically direct the space behind the nose and mouth to widen and deepen. Find freedom in our lip, tongue, and jaw, and release the chest, all to increase resonance. Finally, I would like to talk about performance anxiety. Alexander technique also gives us a lot of advice in this area, like primary control, breathing, voice and resonance, vision, semi-supine, mental cues, all play a role in regulating our performance anxiety. In Shenxiang's opinions, when singing, you must be mentally prepared, have a very good mental state, and have a good desire to sing so that you can achieve good requirements.
Overall, there are overlapping ideas in both texts, as well as ideas that are mentioned by each, but not by the other. The treaty I choose to use goes into detail on 4 main parts of singing. They are breathing, vocalization, resonance, and language. So the parts are more relevant to Alexander technique is breathing, vocalization, and resonance, which I also mentioned in the video, like the session on performance anxiety in the Alexander technique for musician. This book gives a lot of very useful advice, but it's not comparable to the treaty I have chosen, because the treaty I have chosen didn't mention this regard. Finally, I think the ideas given by Alexander technique is comprehensive and summarizes general patterns. The treaty I chose, on the other hand, is biased toward Professor Shenxiang's summary of experience. This is the whole content of my video. Thanks for watching. Bye!